Hi, welcome to Sustain Talks. Today I'm joined by Adam Walsh, CEO of John Good Group, a sixth generation company that comprises of businesses in the likes of travel, shipping and logistics. Just over a year ago, we got close to the business when we delivered their sustainability and social responsibility training. And what I saw throughout the business was a passion for being purpose-driven with a warm family feel where every employee and stakeholder truly matters. And that's why I wanted to speak to you, Adam. I wanted to share your story because I think many other people can benefit. It's really good to have you here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Really good. And great intro, nailed it. You've taken away my whole pitch. That's a great start.
But it's not enough, actually. And that's why I like to ask you, tell us a little bit more about John Good Group and your mission for planet, people and performance.
Yeah, we've gone through a big transitional period, last 2 or 3 years for the group relative to its history. And we have a long history at 190 years. But in the last sort of couple of years, we sold one of our largest trading businesses in the group, a business called Good Logistics. And with that, created an opportunity really for the group to realign itself and a lot closer to some of the shareholders' wants and desires. So that sale really created two things. It was an unusual sale in that not only did the trading business go, but the leadership went. So the whole leadership of the group went at that time with that sale. And the other really important thing that happened at that time was the baton changed hands from the 5th generation to the 6th generation in terms of shareholders within the company. And when I talk about the 6th generation, really who I'm talking about is a chap called Tim Good. And Tim's the largest shareholder within the family of the business today. Tim is a passionate philanthropist and environmentalist and spends an awful lot of his own personal time working on projects all over the world, actually, trying to do environmental and social good in lots of different ways. And Tim has a real passion that the business that he is the shareholder of takes on some of those characteristics. And really, I was brought in to help Tim align our whole organization behind Tim's values. And to do that, we've had to take a real hard look at our existing businesses and strategically what do we want to do with those businesses and create some new direction for the group. Not only to help the businesses grow, but to help the businesses thrive. So invest in our people internally, invest in all the things that we need to do in our communities, but also take on the responsibility of our impact, both in historically and the impact we're making today in terms of the environment. And you've described the group perfectly in your intro. We have businesses in haulage, in warehousing, in corporate travel. We've got some shipping businesses. We own property. All of those marketplaces have material challenges in relation to its responsibility and the environment. Mm. And that was probably when I landed in this group, or when I was thinking about joining the group and talking to Tim in depth, Tim's view on how we were going to move the business and align it with his values was probably the determining factor for me joining the group. And his view was we can be in industries that aren't great for the environment, and let's make no bones about it, the businesses that we operate around have material impacts on the environment. But we have a choice. We could get out and moan about it, or we could be right in the thick of these industries. And whilst we're not a large player in any of the industries we operate in, we're at the brilliant size where we've got enough scale that we can make some noise, but we're small enough that we're agile enough to make change. And he would prefer to stay in the industries and try and drive change from within rather than get out and moan about it. And when I heard that, I was like, right, I can sign up to that. I know what we're doing. I know how we're going to do it. And really the last 2 years have been starting to align the business around Tim's vision and starting to not only make those positive choices, but start owning and being accountable for the impact that we make and working on ways to reduce that impact or improve it in one of the more positive social aspects, for example, through our foundation.
Yeah, I think that's why we enjoy working with you guys, and why we really can see it in every single part of the business that we've touched upon, and right down to every single employee. You can really get that feel. The other thing that I really wanted you to talk about is the Matthew Good Foundation, and why that was set up, what it is, and how you work with the smaller charities and support them.
Yeah, so it's the Matthew Good Foundation is the foundation that the group supports. It was set up by Tim and Matthew Good 10 or 11, maybe even 12 years ago now, actually. And originally it was set out to play the role of doing the social good that the brothers at the time were really focused on delivering as part of their wider commitment to the communities that they operated in. Very early on in that setup process, there was a tragedy where Matthew passed away. He'd been running the Humber Half Marathon and got into some difficulties, and sadly passed. And that tragedy really spurred on Tim to look at the foundation, and gave him a hell of a lot of motivation, quite understandably, in terms of what he wanted to achieve through the foundation. And in its early guys, it was very, very focused actually on race medicine, for all the reasons that you can understand, given what happened to Matthew. But as time has progressed, and as Tim has got more confident in the areas that he feels he can make impact and wants to make impact, the foundation has very much taken on, again, Tim's values in terms of how he wants to do things. If I fast forward, to today, the foundation has evolved massively under the leadership of Tim, but equally their executive director, a lady called Michelle Taft. And Michelle has really professionalized, I would argue, how the foundation runs. It's got a strategic plan now. It has clear goals in terms of its funding and the donations that it wants to give. And actually what that's done is that's allowed the foundation to almost remove itself from the group on a daily basis. It's a big enough entity to be a standalone thing, and really professionalize. And now the group supports the foundation. So we make large donations every year into the foundation. We cover all of their operating costs, and we also make donations towards some of their activities. So they have a fund called Amplify, which works with very small charities, helping them to tell their stories better through film. And they do a lot of filming with small charities, helping them to tell their stories, because film is increasingly the best way to get the messages out. Today is a great example of you doing that for you. And we're trying to do that with lots of small charities where they can't afford that funding. We'll do that filming for them. The foundation also plays an important role in the business, in that it runs all of our volunteering and charitable activity. And, we're working very, very hard to make sure all of our volunteering opportunities are well supported. Last year, we had about 50 hours of volunteering in 2022. This year, we are over 200 hours of volunteering. And we're expecting that to be probably north of 300 hours if I look ahead to 2024. So the foundation gets an awful lot of focus from within the group, but it's definitely of a size and scale now where it's a standalone thing and it's all right. And the work that they do and the charities that they touch is really, really impressive. If you look at the way charities work in the UK, 80% of the money that goes into charities goes into the largest charities. And those charities make amazing work and amazing impact. But you have a whole raft of really small charities doing some really interesting things on a real micro level. Some of them just, really interesting early ideas. Some of them maybe have one or two people working on them, but the good that they do and the impact they can make is very targeted and very specific to certain geographies or certain activities. And so whether that be a people and a community-based thing or an environmental thing, the Matthew Good Foundation is there to try and support them with unrestricted funds. And that's the lifeblood of small charities, having funds that they can do with what they need to do with to survive and thrive. And that's the gap really where the Matthew Good Foundation tries to play, supporting small charities that can do really targeted work and do it in a way that allows them to grow and to build, as opposed to the other funding routes for those smaller charities, which tend to be very restricted. Yes, they can get a grant, but it's for that very specific thing, and that doesn't pay people's bills. And that's potentially where some of our grants and other bits and pieces come in. So the work that Michelle and Tim do is amazing. And to have a group whose focus is on driving performing businesses, but knowing all of the additional profit that you make goes into either our foundation, brilliant, planet, performance back into the business and making sure that thrives, or into our people in terms of developing them for both professionally and personally. And that's another big ambition for the group. So it's really rewarding from my perspective. I like to get performing businesses and moving businesses forward and growing, but knowing that every penny you do, that you generate and that you can make addition and goes back into one of these really positive impacts wherever is incredibly rewarding. And it's a great job in that regard.
Yeah, it is. I think I read that in 2022 you raised 290,000, something like that, for the foundation.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways. So there's the donations that go out to small charities, and that I think might be the figure that you're talking about there. In terms of the money that the company donates through to the foundation, we've committed to a figure in excess of 7 figures, so it's low 1 millions over the next 3 years to give them that platform. So we are putting our money where our mouth is on the group company side, but what that gives Michelle and Tim is the runway to know that they have got funding, it is secure, and that they can go and build the foundation in Tim's vision with Michelle executing in a way that can be more sustainable for the long term. And that guarantee of that funding is that critical piece in all of that. We're not a million miles off our millionth pound of donation back out into those micro charities. So watch this space on that. That should be happening relatively soon. But we're already talking about when the 2 millionth pound will be out of the door, so that I think underscores the ambition that we've got from the group side and really the ambition of the guys in the foundation in terms of the impact they want to make over the next few years. So it's an exciting time to be part of the group. It's a more exciting time to be in the foundation. There's lots of exciting things happening, but I strongly suspect over the next couple of years that impact is going to just keep on accelerating. So watch this space on that.
Yeah, it's great. Honestly, the foundation is beautiful. I've looked at all of the charities and it really does go into every single area. And I think, the work that you do in the business and being able to align with these different charities and give something back, that must also build such good relationships with your clients as well, because they can see that most people now, they want to work with a company that they can see that's doing good. I mean, it was the reason that you said that you wanted to work with John Good Group and I think often people are now finding, I want to see what a company is doing. I want to see the good they're doing to know that it lies in their values.
Sam, I think that is a really interesting point, and I think it helps in 2 ways actually. And I will come to the other companies that might want to work to us in a minute. But the main area I think it really helps is in recruitment and retention. Actually, my view is that post-pandemic, people had a lot of time to reflect during the pandemic about what was important to them and what work meant to them. And my view is that increasingly, through all the different generations that are currently in the workforce, people want to work for organizations that have a purpose that is beyond driving a bottom line. They have to feel like they are both, that has to be satisfied. You have to get the right salaries and all those other things. But when it comes to a businesses that can make a difference and have a purpose that's beyond the bottom line, attract better quality of staff, you retain your staff in a better way. And I think we've benefited already by that as we've rebuilt the group, post that disposal that I mentioned earlier. And we've attracted some brilliant people. And you've met some of them. We have some brilliant people in our business to complement an existing bunch who are loyal, dedicated, brilliant operationally at what they do, And we've got a really nice mix now of new blood who are ambitious, who want to drive growth and bring some new skills, supporting a really excellent operationally focused group who were in the group already. So I think all of that purpose really helps with your people. To your point about other businesses, and both in terms of the businesses that you want to work with from a supply base, and you're a great example of that, but also your customers. You know, we talk about the 3 Ps internally. I think in the outside world, people probably talk more about ES and G. And I think there's a couple of views on this. Clearly, from government, bigger businesses are being increasingly mandated that they've got to take these things into account. So of a certain size, you've got to be able to report, you've got to be able to influence, show that you're making changes within your business. And so businesses like John Good, who are still, you know, an SME, we're still not under any mandate to report or do any of those things. By doing the things that we do, we become an attractive partner for some of these companies because we're already operating in some of these things. It's not why we do it, but it's a great byproduct that we can turn into tenders and opportunities for new business. And we have a really compelling story across all 3 of those. So if we take environmental, we've done an awful lot of work in terms of understanding our environmental impact in the last 12 months. We undertook the group's first ever carbon measurement in 2023 for our financial year 2022. That showed up some really interesting insights into the business that I'm not sure we necessarily thought that were there. The group emits, in terms of our operational control, about 2,500 tons of carbon every year. So that's the operational things, the things that we can control. But if you look at our wider scope 3 emissions, they're nearly 100 times, 100 times greater than our operational control. So we already have reduction plans in place to deal with some of the things that we can control operationally. Examples of that we are looking at rolling out EV to all the company car holders. If you're now in a company car allowance, you have to go EV or hybrid if your role determines it. We're looking at car share and commuting miles and how we can reduce those down, increasing flexibility to reduce that down. We've moved the group to renewable energy only in terms of our energy procurement. At all of our new developments, so this is property now, we are putting solar in. So we're getting a new head office that's getting solar. We've got a new warehouse being built for our warehousing business that's having solar on it. So we're solar and battery on it, actually. So we're mandating all of these things to help bring that reduction down. So in terms of the controllable element, we're doing a lot of that, and being able to evidence that we are doing things already helps no end in terms of the environmental piece of ESG. In terms of the non-controllable, this is where your help comes in massively. So if we're going to help influence our supply chain, both downstream and upstream, all of the people in our business have to be competent at talking about it and have the skills to. They don't need to be full experts, but they need to have enough competency to engage with both clients and with suppliers on what is happening and how we can reduce emissions in the wider supply chain and how we can work with customers to help them buy better. And so we're doing an awful lot of that on the environmental side, training our staff. And all of that added up on the environmental side means we're putting ourselves ahead of the competition in terms of environment. The Matthew Good Foundation already ticks a whole heap of the social side of things. So, you know, the work that we do there really ticks an awful lot of boxes under S of ES&G. And governance, by definition, at 190 years old, we've been through the mill a bit. Our governance is generally solid. I think we need to do a better job in governance at the John Good Group in terms of getting third-party accreditation. ISOs, for example, Cyber Essentials. I think we can do a better job of evidencing our governance, but underlying it all, we're pretty solid on our governance. So, yeah, I think ESG is increasingly important to try and win business, and I think clients want to work with companies that are taking their ESG responsibilities seriously. And I think we've put the group in a good place. We're not perfect. We've got far more work to do. But in terms of those early building blocks across all 3 of those strands, yeah, the group's in a good place and has been working awfully hard to put it there.
Yeah, I think like you know, nowadays there's not going to be a tender that doesn't ask the questions about your environmental impact and what you're doing to reduce, and your reduction strategy, and also your social value as well. And you really feel it everywhere in that. And you know, and I'll just back you up that the team, when we've gone in and trained them, their passion to help their customers and to educate their customers to be able to understand what their carbon footprint is, and guide them to ways that they can reduce them and help them reduce them. And it's really, really impressive to see. What have been the biggest challenges that you've found with, you know, obviously you are a company that sells travel and logistics and shipping. What have been the biggest challenges that you found when trying to reduce your footprint?
Well, there's a really interesting one. So, I see this in two different ways, and it really is about what we can control in house and where we have to engage partners. I think the biggest challenge we faced is in terms of our own operational impact, is getting the quality of information out of the systems to really understand where we've got the granularity of data, and we're working with the right partners that can give us the right inputs, so that we can really get a good understanding of what we are and where we are not. And I think that was a major challenge in the first year. And for any company, and I would encourage all SMEs, whether mandated or not, to get on and do your carbon measurement. But you will all go through the same pain in that first year, trying to find the way the data works in, again, on all of the products and services that you buy, and trying to bring that in and get the data into a way that you can work with a partner to help you understand that measurement. It was incredibly difficult. And we will start our second measurement in the first quarter of 2024, and I am hopeful, fingers crossed, that we find that a lot better experience this year. On a client and supplier side, the biggest challenge is you have a incredibly wide range of people on their own individual journeys. And you've got to be respectful of that, because some of them, it's been mandated by government, they've got to do it. It's an urgent requirement, and you've got to be able to work to that immediately in a language that they need to help support them in a way that they need to do it for their own purposes. So you've got that group of people. You've got another group of people that just want to do the right thing, and they want help. They need to understand it. They want educating. They need to understand it, and you've got to do that role for them. You've then got people at the other end that, frankly, still do not care. That's not where they're at in their journey, and I respect that. They've just not got there yet, and we will be ready and waiting when that changes in their world for that. So I don't think you can have a one-size-fits-all approach to your client base or even your supplier base in relation to this, because we're all under pressure to think about it. Depending where you are in the marketplace, you're either having to do it or you're not. And, you know, we want to try and work with people that are on this journey. And we actively now, moving forwards, we're introducing a procurement policy in the new year, where we are prioritizing local economy first, environmental second. So we've actually flipped that on its head. Support local, so Yorkshire businesses for our businesses that are based in Yorkshire, Wales and London for those businesses. Can we work with local suppliers? And if we can, then we pick an environmental choice. If we can't, then we prioritize environmental over local. So we're doing these things, and we'll move our supply chain around in the next year or two to focus in these areas. But not all of your customers are going to do that. And we'll be ready. We will be ahead of the pack. We'll be leading the way. I feel we're ahead of most of our competitors in most of our marketplaces. And yeah, we want to work with clients and with suppliers that think along the same line. But that being said, when other clients are ready to go, we'll be there to help them on their journey as well.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, I especially in the travel industry, so see so many people talking about how they're celebrating that we're getting back to pre-pandemic levels, and it's really great. And it's hard for me to see that, but understanding that there are companies out there that want to, they believe in reduction. And on one side, I believe in, look, we need to create a sustainable economy and we need growth in business, but we also need to be mindful of what's going on in the planet as well. And I always find that a real challenge to say, yes, look, get more business and it's really great, but you've got to think sustainability and you've got to think about the environment, because the effects that are going on around the planet already and how those challenges are going to get worse and worse and worse each year. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, the really interesting thing on that, Sam, that springs to mind instantly is we're yet as an economy really genuinely taking on the cost of the impact of the environment. And whichever business line, whether you're B2B, B2C, travel, or you're a local shop and everything in between, there is going to come a time where we all have to, in terms of the costs of running business, we're going to have to recognize the cost of the environmental impact. John Good doesn't have to do the reduction things it wants to do. It doesn't have to do it, it wants to do it. And so we invest in it because it's to our values. But eventually every company is going to have to pay the environmental and social cost of its activity, because, to your point, it isn't an infinite resource and it won't go on forever in the way it was. It will not end well if that's the route that it goes. So eventually all businesses will have to, in their cost base, allow for the environmental and social impact that business makes on its communities and the environment. And when people start waking up to that, then you will start to see some behavior change, I believe, because we're starting to do it. We're not perfect. We're starting to do it, but everyone is going to have to do it eventually, or it will not work. The challenge will not be overcome.
Yeah, I think it will come because businesses will specifically put in their tenders that if you don't have a carbon reduction plan, then we're not going to work with you. I mean, we're seeing it already. I know the NHS does it. They're forcing their suppliers to think about the environment. And I think it's about taking your customers, like you said before, taking your customers on that journey with you and saying, look, we're here to help if you need it. We understand if you're not ready, but taking them on that journey, really, really important. But
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
I just wanted to talk about your employees. I've seen the way that they respond to you. I've seen you with them. How do you as a company prioritise the well-being and the development of your employees?
One of our three sort of key strategic pillars is people, people, planet, performance. And when it comes to people, the ambition is to deliver the best personal and professional development that we can do. That's what we want to do. So every single person that comes to our business, how can we help you develop as a person, but also how can we help you develop your career? So that's where it all starts from. We have incredibly strong family values. Being in a 6th generation family business, family values runs deep in this organization. I would argue sometimes too deep, okay, because a business isn't a family. Okay, so I'm an interesting pivot point, I believe, in this business, in that I understand the family values and they come into me, but family values are about longevity and taking the rough with the smooth, and and sort of persistence, all the things you expect with the family. Whereas, and I understand that, and I have to, sort of dilute that down into concentrate and make sure that's represented in the company. But below me, we're a team. We're all brought here to do a job, to perform, to make things better, to improve things. So we've got a real mix of values in all of that. But ultimately, the individual is at the heart of each of those, and that's really, really important. Now, we made a major commitment when I arrived to increase the training and development budget of the group, and we did that last year 7-fold. Next year, we're probably going to add another 50% to the overall training budget. So relative to the historic position of the group, we're in a chalk and cheese in terms of the difference. Apart from creating the ambition and the direction and having the investment ready to deliver on those things, I am now going to completely pass all of the credit onto our chief people officer, Rachel Lowe. She has grabbed the blank canvas that was John Good and our people experience and ran with it to a level that I'm not sure even I expected us to get to, especially in the time frame that she's done it. We really are making great strides across the way we develop people, we train people, and we support people. So if we talk training, just to start with, everyone's gone through a whole big exercise this year. If you're management level or above, we've done a whole load of psychological understanding of each other. We've worked out how the teams work, how people are best to approach each other, people's strengths and weaknesses. We've done a load of understanding as a cohort on that. We've introduced you guys into the mix, so quite not everybody yet, but a big portion of our workforce has now had sustainability and environmental training, and the competence that we now have in the group is superb on that particular topic. Rachel's come in with loads of other initiatives, so we've all gone through mental health training now, so we can better recognise it in our colleagues and ourselves. Yeah. To make sure that we're keeping our well-being in the right place. Only a fortnight ago, I went through the first ever menopause training that I have ever had in my career in 20 years of career. Yeah. And I'm actually embarrassed to say I knew so little and appreciated so little of the impact it could make on effectively 50% of my colleagues. We, as a business community, I'm not just talking John Good now, have missed a massive trick in terms of how we support our female colleagues through that period and the adjustments that probably need to be made. And Rachel's opened my eyes up to that, and I can assure you a lot of the other men that were in that room in that session. And so we're tackling topics now that John Good would have never done before historically, and the credit on that goes to Rachel. So there's just a load of real positive people-related experience that's going on, and that'll only accelerate into 2024. The plans that she has for what we're going to be doing as a group is amazing. In terms of some of the personal stuff, we've done a lot of employee assistance programs, so the guys have got access to financial support and other things like that, which will make a difference to them in their personal lives. And then the company's doing lots of other things that it can do. So everyone's got their birthday off now. Everyone gets a volunteer day. We've massively improved the long service award. So people get substantial value now for hitting some of those milestones. We recently had one of our employees, Dave Senior. He passed 40 years within the group. He's worked at John Good longer than I've been alive. It's ridiculous. And he's got a week off, I think, and £5,000 to spend on a holiday for him and his family to recognise that achievement. So we're doing things like that. We're about to launch a new initiative which will give all of our employees the chance to go on their dream bucket list item.
Oh,
that's due to launch anytime. I'm probably giving you some spoilers here if this goes out too quick. But that I'm really excited about that initiative. Someone at Christmas, we will do 2 draws a year, one at Christmas and one in the summer, where we'll pick an employee's name out of the hat, and then we will deliver their bucket list for them. I couldn't be more excited about that. And again, while I'll take a little bit of credit for some of the initial idea. Rachel and one of her team, actually, Chloe, has worked incredibly hard on that initiative, and I'm excited to see that launched in the next month or two. So we do an awful lot, I suppose, is the short answer to that question.
Yeah, and it clearly does attract talent, and I know that's not why you do it, but also that longevity of the people in the company, because they can see all the stuff that you're doing. It makes them want to stay, and it makes them want to go to work, and also you probably get more out of them because they're happy to be there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, productive staff generally in the economy is an issue, right? You know, it's one of the biggest problems that's holding back the British economy is the level of productivity by headcount. I am a strong believer that if you can have you need it's twofold actually. You need to do all of the things that make them feel rewarded and happy and psychologically safe. That's all really important. But the other side of the same coin is you have to be in an environment where you know what good looks like, because that in itself is really important for people's own well-being, is knowing that they are doing their job and knowing that they are supported to do their job well. So you can do all the nice fluffy stuff, you can do all of that, and I love all of that, but it's got to be married up with everybody knowing what the mission of the company is, the role that they play in achieving that mission, making sure that their incentives are aligned to the incentives of their seniors, which are aligned to the overall of the group, and making sure that we're all pulling in the same direction. And then when you marry, I know my role, I'm empowered and supported to do it, and look at all the great, for want of a better phrase, fluffy stuff that goes with it, then you have the recipe for really exciting performance.
Yeah.
Because everyone's aligned in the same way, they feel all of that energy, and then you start to get momentum. And once you've got momentum in a business, you don't lose it easily. Yeah. To your other point, attracting talent, we touched on it earlier, but one of my roles, I'm a chief exec of a business that's 190 years old. You do not want to be the chief exec that messes that up. That is a lot of pressure, right? So bringing in talent at all levels, so you can genuinely look at the 10, 15-year view and go, we have people that are going to take on the weight of this business, this amazing business here in East Yorkshire, arguably a real sleeping giant of a business. You've got to have that. And so by able to make a proposition which is attractive to potential employees, I know I'm securing the future of the group by doing that. And that's one of my biggest roles, is to make sure that this company gets to 200 years. And then, you know what, it's someone else's responsibility at that point. But I've got to set it off in this direction. I've got to deliver on Tim's vision for the company, but I've got to make it sustainable so that we are still here, and that my run is a positive run and sets us off in a new direction, but with a whole load of talent that are going to be better at what they do than me. You know, Rachel's a great example. We've talked about her. We've got Rich Quelch, who runs our marketing, Ben Norman, Dave North, the managing directors, Kevin, who you know. We've got loads of talent in this business, but we've also got to make sure that they're supported by the next generation of talent, because eventually we'll all want to go and do other things or whatever. And that sustainability side on our people and succession is incredibly important to a business that's 190 years old, and we will not be going anywhere. Yeah. You know, we're not a business that is owned by an individual that's going to be sold when that person retires and that's the end of that. You know, this business is about getting this to the 7th generation. Yeah. And the 7th generation right now in John Good is a toddler. So we have a few years yet to go before we're talking about genuine succession from the 6th to the 7th generation. So I've got to make sure the company's on firm foundations to allow us to deliver that.
And the world will be in a different place by the time that person is in place, you know, with everything that's happening around the world. But I have a final question. We're getting to the end now. What advice would you give to other CEOs and business leaders that are, I'd say, that are looking to incorporate sustainability and social responsibility into their companies, as you've done it so well?
On the environmental side, just get on with it. Stop waiting to be told to do it. Get on with it. Get ahead. You will find competitive advantage. It'll be horrible. It'll be difficult. You'll realize all of your processes don't help with this, but get on with it. And be very, very aware of greenwashing. Be very aware of it. But also be proud of any impact that you can make, any difference you do make. You know, but take the responsibility for understanding. Do not let that carry on without. terms of the social impact side, it is incredibly rewarding to a level that money doesn't get you, job roles, promotions don't get you. There's very few things in life as rewarding as seeing the impact that you can have by really truly investing into your communities and into some of these small projects, and the difference you can make with relatively not much money. So anybody listening to this that is remotely thinking about a foundation, charitable giving, or any of that, 100% do it. And 2, if anybody ever wants any advice or to bounce any ideas off, we would be more than welcome, more than happy to welcome anybody to approach us. I'll spend some time with them. I know Michelle would love to spend time with other organisations talking about how they can make social impact. And I suppose if I had to give the summary of both of those things, just get on with it. Don't wait. It's too important. It's too rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, and Adam, this has just been brilliant. You are everything that I thought you would be. And I know you give a lot of credit to your team, but they wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't have your support and encouragement to do that. And I know how much you encourage them to get on and do their job. So, massive respect and support to you too. And yeah, such an amazing business. And you can feel it, you can see it when you speak to everyone in the business, and it really, really does show. It's really authentic. So thank you for sharing your story and your time.
Absolute pleasure, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.